All right, let's dive into a legal decision that honestly reads more like a neighborhood drama than a court document. We're talking accusations, secret meetings, and a homeowners association board that basically declared war on itself. It's a wild ride.
So this is really the core question here. We hear all the time about homeowners fighting their HOAs. But this case, this is different. This is about a conflict that blew up the board from the inside, sparking lawsuits where each side accused the other of breaking the very rules they were supposed to enforce. So our story is set in the Sunland Village community over in Mesa, Arizona. And the absolute epicenter of this whole thing is its board of directors. These are just volunteers, right? Elected to run the association who found themselves in a situation where they pretty much couldn't run anything at all. Okay, so here is the heart of the problem. The board was supposed to have 7 members, but someone resigned, leaving them with only 6. And these 6 members, they were perfectly and, well, disastrously split right down the middle, 3 versus 3. You had Alan R. Tobin and his 2 supporters on one side and the 3 other board members on the other. A complete and total deadlock. Now, to really get why this 3-on-3 split was such a catastrophe, you have to understand this one little word, quorum. See, for the Sunland board to do anything official, pass a rule, pay a bill, make any decision, they needed a quorum of 4 members in the room. With the board split down the middle, neither side could hold a valid meeting on its own. They were completely and utterly paralyzed. Well, that paralysis didn't last forever. It eventually just erupted into open warfare, fought with lawyers and legal petitions. The first shot was fired by one faction of the HOA, and they took direct aim at the leader of the other side, Alan Tobin. And here's the core of their complaint. They basically accused Tobin of blindsiding the entire community. Their petition says he tried to change the community's most fundamental rules, the bylaws, without giving people who weren't at that specific meeting any chance to even know about it, let alone debate or vote on it. So let's break this down. At the annual meeting in January 2011, Mr. Tobin gets up and proposes some pretty big rule changes. Things like new term limits and new powers for the board president. But here's the kicker. The bylaws are crystal clear. They say any proposed amendment requires a 10-day written notice to all members before the meeting. And the craziest part? Mr. Tobin admitted he never sent one. Oh, but Tobin wasn't just going to take that. No way. He fired right back with his own legal petition, and he accused the other 3 board members of a huge violation themselves. He claimed they held a totally illegitimate secret meeting just to undermine him. And his argument is pretty brilliant, really. He calls their little get-together a pseudo-meeting, a fake one. Why? Because as he points out, you can't have a real meeting without a quorum. He's using the board's own rulebook against them. So here's the play-by-play. On February 11th, Tobin's 3 opponents on the board hold their own meeting. Of course, Tobin and his side weren't there. And at this meeting, they voted to declare Tobin's bylaw amendments null and void. The problem? With only 3 of them present, they didn't have that required quorum of 4. So the meeting, where they tried to invalidate Tobin's actions, was itself an invalid meeting. Whoops. And the fight was not over. Not by a long shot. Tobin had one more big accusation up his sleeve, and this one was about something that always causes drama: money. He accused his opponents of improperly spending the association's funds to pay for their side of the fight. I mean, this is a huge accusation. Tobin is claiming that over $20,000 of the homeowner's own money was spent on lawyers, and the full board never approved it. He alleged that the whole thing was done behind his back by the association's manager and the 3 members of the opposition. Now, the total claim was for over $20,000, but the court case really zeroed in on specific invoices. For example, this one bill for $640 from a law firm back in January 2011. A pretty small amount, but it ended up becoming a key piece of evidence in this whole saga. So the nail in the coffin here was yet another rule violation. Tobin's argument was that the manager and those 3 board members met with lawyers and paid them with HOA money, all without the rest of the board knowing. This was a direct violation of the HOA's own policy manual, which flat out says that any contact with the association's law firm has to be directed by the full board, not just one faction of it. So with 3 different sets of accusations flying around, this entire messy affair finally landed in front of an administrative law judge. And after hearing from everyone, the judge issued a verdict that was, well, it was definitely not a clean win for anybody. Okay, so let's look at the final scorecard, because this is where it gets really interesting. First up,
The HOA's case against Tobin for those bylaw amendments, the HOA won that one. Tobin had to pay a $750 penalty. But then, Tobin's case against the HOA for holding that meeting without a quorum, Tobin won. The HOA had to pay a $750 penalty. And finally, Tobin's accusation about the sneaky legal fees, he won that one too. The HOA had to pay another $750. So in the end, everybody was found guilty of breaking the rules. And, this wasn't just some suggestion from the judge. The official documents show that on June 15th, 2012, this whole decision was certified, making it final. The battle of the bylaws was officially over. Which really just leaves us with this final thought. When a group that's supposed to be in charge gets so divided that they start using the rules as weapons against each other, well, what does winning even mean? Both sides here got a legal victory, but they were also both found at fault and had to pay up. It really makes you wonder, in a civil war like this, even after the lawyers go home, does anyone ever really win?